Really took off for us in when I went to college, my third year in college, because I was in San Francisco, and there were four cable stations, not cable stations, but affiliates in San Francisco that ran Star Trek. So at one point, you watched four Star Treks in a row, the original. And so that's when it sort of took off in terms of it being a phenomenon, because, I mean, for us it was great because we used to have drinking games in college. And the story goes is that whoever could tell what the episode was about the quickest got a shot of tequila. And so, you know, of course, whoever was the best would be drunk in about, but it was, that's how the whole thing kind of started in terms of the iconicness of the show. And so anyway, cut to 1986, I hear that they're going to do a show, and I call my agents and managers, and I said, look, you know, I really want to be part of this. Can you find out? So they called back and said, yes, we love Michael, but the show is already cast, everything's set, there's just, you know, and if somewhere down the line there's a part for him, we'll give you a call, which, you know, of course means don't call us, we'll call you, which, fine. I go, okay. I mean, my career was going pretty good, and I was working a lot, and so I just go, well, you know, hey, it's a shot, and I was going on with the rest of my life. And but 2 weeks later, I get a call. Now, there's also another segue for this, which is, at the time I was dating this woman, and both of us were big Star Trek fans. And it was very interesting. We would have trivia contests to see who knew the most. And it was neck and neck for a long time. We dated for a while, and it was neck and neck, you know, just I get one, and she get one, and I get one, you know, or we would guess, and, you know, never could, you know, stump each other. Until one day she said, Michael, what are the words to the Star Trek theme? I went, I don't know. And she goes, yeah, there. I said, no, there's not. She goes, yes, sir. I said, no, there's not. Come on, you're lying. You just want to win. She goes, no. And she sang the words to the Star Trek theme. And so we were huge fans of the show. And so I was over at her house when I got the call, and they said, okay, you're going to come in on Tuesday or when it was and read for this part of a Klingon. And for me, that was the best news, because I loved Klingons. I mean, I thought they were like the coolest aliens. I mean, all the other ones were pretty cool, but the Klingons were my favorite. And so my girlfriend bought me How to Speak Klingon and a couple other books, and you know, to get me prepared. And I read through them, and it was pretty interesting. But the thing I got from it is that I knew that you had to commit to a particular thing, a particular style. And so I just thought Klingons, I was going to be a Klingon. I walked on the set, well, not on the set, but on the audition as a Klingon. And I walked in the room, and I see a bunch of people that I read with all the time, a bunch of other actors, and I didn't talk to them. And I go up to the secretary and I go, excuse me, is there some place I can be alone? And she goes, yeah, right over there. Thank you. And I walk out, go into a room by myself, and I sit there. And I'm just like, you know, scowling and not talking. And finally they say, okay, Michael, it's your turn. So I get up and I go in, and I see Gene Roddenberry, Bob Justman, and a couple other guys, I don't know who they were. And I'm like freaking out inside, but I was cool. And I said, hello, nice to meet you. Hello, nice to meet you. And I sat down, did my thing, got up, went, thank you very much, and walked out. And of course, when I got outside and outside the studio, I go, that was Gene Roddenberry, I can't believe it, John Justman, it was just. And so I go, cool. And I go home, and I'm at my girlfriend's house once again, and I'm telling her how it went. She goes, wow, that sounds great, you know? And I get a call. and they say, oh, they want you to come back for another audition, which is big in the business because that means you got to call back and they like you. So I went back in, and it was just the three of us. There were three guys. One was James Watkins Jr., and the other guy was James Avery, who played Will Smith's father or uncle in Fresh Prince. And it was between us three. And so we both went in, did the same thing we did before, came out, and they say, okay, thank you very much, guys, we'll let you know. And so we all leave, and they say, oh, Michael, excuse me a second, you left a tape here last time that we want to give to you, because we don't want to have these tapes hanging around. And I wasn't fast enough to know that they didn't want me to leave because they wanted to tell me. And so I go outside the office, and I'm sitting there just, you know, I'm just like not even thinking about anything. I'm just waiting to go home or something like that. And the director comes out, Corey Allen, and he says, oh, it's going to be nice working with you, Michael. And then the casting director comes out and she goes, I wanted to tell him. And I go, what? Oh my God. And I hugged this guy like he was my father or something like that. I was like, oh God, thank you. I mean, it was like crazy. So that was the beginning. And it was, you know, it's life-changing. I mean, the whole thing, to get a series, first of all, or a pilot for a series, it's life-changing for any actor. I mean, that's what you want in the television business. That's like your start. And so it was a very big deal for me, but it was also great because Star Trek, and I knew Star Trek really well. And so they didn't even give me time to take a breath. They said, okay, go over to Michael Westmore's place and start getting makeup. They're getting, you know, prepared for the makeup. And I went over there, they did a head cast, they did a face cast, they did everything. And within about 2 days, I think about 2 or 3 days, I was actually on the set filming. I mean, it was so fast. It was, and the producers, and I don't know why, but they didn't introduce me to anybody. I just showed up and I started reading lines, you know, and people are going, oh yeah, this is Michael, he's going, and that was it. But the one thing that I did before I actually went on the set and started working, is I snuck on the set as Michael Dorn. And I was just standing there, you know, nobody really knew who I was, and they were just doing their thing. And I just realized that these people were all, you know, their characters or the people they were playing were all these great, you know, wonderful people, and they're going out in space, and we're partners and comrades in arms and laughing and having a great time. And I went, oh, I think I'm going to do the opposite, you know? And so that's how the genesis of Warp was that, or his attitude was, I wanted to be the opposite of these people. And thankfully for me, we had great writers all through the series, and so they took off on that. And they wrote this great stuff for me, you know, where Worf is, you know, gruff and surly and not happy, and, you know, and is very nationalistic and egotistical about his own race, and they just took off with that. And from there, it just blossomed into this great role. A lot of people have said, you know, well, you know, you weren't supposed to be on there like all the time. And I said, well, no, that's not true. My contract called for 7 out of 13 shows, which pretty much everybody gets. And then after the first year, then they renegotiate and they say, well, we want you all shows produced, and then you're in there. So that's what happened. It was quite the journey. And but it was a blast. I mean, the writers took off, and then the best part, along with meeting people and having a great time and all that, was I got a call to do Deep Space Nine after Next Generation was over. And even that was crazy, because after 7 years, I think Mike Westmore and I figured out I did 1,000 makeups in 7 years. And so after that, I was like, okay, the show was over, and I'm like going, okay, that's done. I'm done with, you know, after Next Generation. That's it. No more makeup. It's over, and I'll never do that again, and I'm done, and oh, forget it. And then they call me, and I go, yo, forget you. I'm never doing that makeup. It's out of your mind. I went, how much? Well, I could do that, yeah, you know. But And that was even better. I mean, that turned into what I really wanted Worf to be, was to open up as a character, not be too, one or two dimensional. And that's what they did. And they had great writers on that show also. Michael Moore, Ron Moore, who does Outlander now. He's the producer of Outlander. He did Battlestar Galactica. He was one of the first writers. He did first